Okay, so day two started. I got up a little bit early before Andrea did, so I just stepped outside. I wanted to try to get a sunrise photo, or at least some sort of sunrise of the area of the valley that we were in. That being said, we got up, we got our breakfast again at the hotel, a little bit different this time. Got some food again, had a nice big breakfast, and decided that this time we were going to a little town, I believe it's southwest, that was called Volterra. And this was a pretty cool spot. The reason we wanted to visit this one in particular was because this one had a bunch of Roman ruins associated with it. There's supposed to be an amphitheater there, as well as an acropolis and a few other things that we wanted to check out. I wanted to see some Roman ruins. That was like the number one thing I wanted to do when I was over in Italy, was to see Roman stuff. I wanted to see Roman things, old stuff. But we managed to get to Volterra, and this is where the limitations of the car started to come into effect. The car was not a very powerful car. Getting up some of the steep hills in the Tuscany region was a bit of a struggle. There was one spot in particular we were trying to get out of a parking area, and it was a fairly steep grade, and I stalled the car once trying to get out of it, and then I backed up a little bit and kind of got like a running start, hoping nobody was coming down the street. Luckily it worked out, managed to get out of that spot, find a parking spot, and then walk to the town. It was a bit far of a walk, but that was okay. We put on a lot of miles walking while we were there. But this was more definitely like a hill town for sure, and it sat pretty high up, and when you got to overlook the valley and the views, it was phenomenal. And it was also crazy busy while we were there. Basically what we did was the first thing we did was we got some food. It was already about lunchtime, I think, at that point, or at least an early lunch. Got some food, nothing too crazy, basically just a variation of mozzarella and tomatoes. Ended up being quite good though, and we just sat there, relaxed, then walked around the town, went into some old churches, went into some shops. But the cool thing about it was eventually we made our way to the Roman amphitheater. You can't walk down into the amphitheater, but you can walk around it. And there's also a view, if you go up the hill a little bit, you can get a view of kind of like looking at the whole thing over a ledge down below you. So we ended up doing that, just walking around, just enjoying it and seeing how old it was, and just fascinated that it's still around, to be honest with you. And then after that, went into some of the shops, just looked around and saw what was there. But one of the cool things that we came across was actually there was a museum there. It was an Etruscan museum, and the Etruscan people are actually predate Roman, and there's not a lot known about them. So that was one of the things that I thought was really interesting, and Andrea did as well. But that being said, there was a museum there that has a lot of Etruscan artifacts. Most of the things that they had in there were basically like little sarcophaguses, probably about this big, give or take. There are tons of them, hundreds of them, and I think it's the biggest area in the world for Etruscan artifacts. So that was really fascinating. We got to see that. We got to walk around, get a history of the Etruscans, at least what they do know about them. Eventually, the Etruscan people kind of got like absorbed into the Roman culture. So that was pretty fascinating. But this was a really cool museum, so if you're ever in Volterra, I would definitely check this out along with the amphitheater. I will note though that while we were trying to find the amphitheater, we were also trying to find the Acropolis, but we couldn't find it. We walked around for a little bit, we couldn't find it, we didn't know what the heck we were looking for, and the map didn't really help us out that much. So we kind of got lost, and that's when we gave up and said, okay, let's just go back to that Tuscany museum that I just mentioned, and let's explore that for a little bit. So we did that. When we were in the Tuscany museum, we talked to the guy there, I guess the security officer, the check-in, whoever you bought the tickets from, and we asked them about the Acropolis, and they gave us some very short, nice, easy directions. Basically just go out behind the Etruscan Museum, make a left, and then go up the hill, and it was like right there. Once we found it though, we got to see the Acropolis, which is basically kind of like a marketplace area at the top of the hill. We got to see that, and to the left of it, there was a cistern there. You could actually go down into the cistern. Very narrow. Really not much to see there. It was cold, but that was actually good because it was so freaking hot outside. It was actually good to be down there in the cold. And that was just the cistern for the water that a lot of the people would get their water supply at. So that was pretty fascinating. Got to see some Roman ruins and everything like that, so I was happy. So at that point we decided to hit the road again, start making our way back to the hotel. But on the way back to the hotel, we decided to stop at another hill town city. This time it was the town of San Gimignano. And San Gimignano it's a cool little town. I think it's called the town of like the towers or something like that, because there's a lot of old towers that are still standing. And you can kind of see them from far away. I took a couple pictures that you can see the road as you're coming in on. So that was really cool, just to see it from afar. I will say though, parking there was probably way worse than it was at Volterra. We just got some food, got some gelato, walked around, got to see the towers, got to enjoy the view for a little bit. It ended up being a great time. The funny part about that was when we were walking around San Gimignano, there were two locations that had gelato, and they both kind of alluded that they were the best gelato in the world, and I thought that was pretty interesting. It kind of reminded me of like a Pat's and Gino's cheesesteak in Philadelphia, where you have them like right across the street from each other, both saying that they're the best. So I thought that was kind of funny. It's like their version of a cheesesteak gelato. But that ended up being pretty cool. We got it at the one, we didn't get it at the other. We ended up having a great time there. We got some pizza, just sat there, ate on the church steps, got to enjoy the view, enjoy the shade that we were in. I do remember that in particular. I don't think I had any videos of it, but there was a pigeon that came by, and for some reason he only had one leg. And I remember we were giving him some of the pieces of pizza because we kind of felt bad for him, because he only had one leg. But I don't think I made pictures of that. We didn't spend too much time there because we had to make it back to the hotel.
Tak co, budeš ten maminky hodný?
Nebudu.
And at that point, that was basically our day 2 and in the Tuscany region. The third day is going to be a little bit different. We got to explore a little bit in the area, and then we had to head to the Volterra region where we're spending the rest of our trip. I'm going to actually break the video up into several videos over the course of the time, because we were over there for like I think 10 days total, so it was a lot to shove into a YouTube video. So that being said, if you guys do like the channel, if you do like the videos I'm putting out, make sure you hit the like button, make sure you subscribe for future content, and of course, I hope you just enjoyed this video.